Well, it's going to be a bit difficult to deconstruct. I mean, I don't think that you're speaking for the Avengers, and I don't think that you're a member of the Avengers.
I'm speaking for the Nigerian people.
Yes, but what I mean is, I don't know if are you a member of the Avengers?
No, I'm not.
Okay, just ensuring. Well, we will continue our conversation on talking about the sincerity. I've been informed that we still have a minute before we go on a break. I was just wondering, though, I mean, can you really say that when you look at the threats of the Avengers and the reasons, they are justifiable reasons. I mean, even though you have said that nothing really justifies violence. At the end of the day, can you really say that you're taking them at their word? Because we've seen agitators before now. We've seen militants before now. And we've also seen that when militants are settled, they stop militating. So can you really say that this is about the people of the Niger Delta, or this is about the selfish interests of some militants?
Repeatedly, I've said that the agitations in the Niger Delta is largely individualistic. Repeatedly, I have said that so many of the boys threaten the estate called Nigeria, so they want to be settled. But I want to say that when you take away the reason for which that is possible and plausible, when you take away the reason for which agitation subsists, when you take away the reason for which they assemble and threaten the estate, which is, of course, poverty, want, the absence of government infrastructural development. When you do develop that space, you find out that that which serves as cannon fodder, that which encourages, that which supports the agitation will etiolate, will disappear, and then you have sizable peace and development in that space.
You say that you have, you commend the movement, the dialogue process that the federal government has taken up with the Niger Delta Avengers, but you have not quite seen any commensurate steps being taken to assuage their feelings. Would you say, if we were to extend that to the larger Nigerian society and the promises made by your party upon assuming government, would you say that that's also been the situation in terms of how they've performed so far?
I think that the preponderance of public opinion is such that the Nigerian people are expecting more of performance than propaganda, more of action than words. The preponderant number of the Nigerian enterprise are expecting that governments must live true to the promises made at the last election. And that is the position that I align with. I think that the time has come for us to stop the talk and walk the talk.
So you haven't seen steps in that direction either?
The what?
You haven't seen steps in that direction either?
Well, you cannot say the government is not taking some steps, but interestingly, the spokesperson to Mr. President wrote and talked about how the mill is grinding slowly. But when you look at the news and you find that the workers are committing suicide, you find out that the cost of living is still not coming down, when you find out that power is not there yet, when you find out that jobs are not being created, you worry, because government must do, in certain paradigms and protocols, what you call precision decisions, precision action, precision thinking. And then, unfortunately, if you look at the fight against corruption, more than 2 years down the line, we haven't seen huge convictions, we haven't seen sizable, what I call monuments of deterrence and monuments of reference. And then you find out that certain actions takes months for government to undertake, which otherwise can be done in hours, in weeks, and if you like, in very short time. And I do sincerely believe that the time for government to move faster and work harder and work better for the benefit of the masses of our people is now.
So if you were to take this down to the Niger Delta, do you think that from what we've seen so far, the move by the Niger Delta elders to try and say, let us go back to the negotiation table, do you think that their words, their steps will work?
We must judge her. We must go back to the negotiating table. We cannot, like the Vice President said, this is not time to war. You have the armed forces just about everywhere. You have the Operation Python Dance, you have the Operation Crocodile Smile, you have some in the North Central, you have some in the Northeast. That's not what we need in this country. We need to engage the people proactively. We need to see effective efficient and effectual governmental presence in just about every sphere of our national life.
But does it worry you, though, that, any group of people can get up and, say that they're going to hold the government to ransom, and they can effectively do that?
It's lampoonable. It's something we cannot celebrate. It's not something we should applaud. But like I said initially, the society prepares the crime, the criminal commits it. I think that the time has come for leadership to become much more responsive and responsible to the people. I think that the time has come for us to put the country first. I think that the time has come for us to do less of partisanship and more of performance. And I think that the time has come for us to put our country at the front burner and engage our people proactively. Save and except that is done, that reprehensible tendency of people threatening the government every so often will continue.
Yes, but that's the point. I mean, that they threaten is not the issue, but that they can effectively carry out their threats and it will look like government is powerless. That particular, aftermath of the threat is what worries a number of people. If people threaten and, the government can effectively stop them, would you think that this will be in the news? Your government cannot be halted. They cannot. But you know what happens? The government will have to use the employ and deploy force. And I think that that's what is wrong. The Niger Delta people cannot stop government from functioning. They cannot stop the only thing is that the space will be militarized. And I think it's not good for anybody. It's not good for our country. It's not good for the estate called Nigeria. And that's exactly why we're saying that beyond engagement, beyond judgment, beyond dialogue, you must proactively influence, effect development in that space and do something that the people can see and say to their children, halt the conflict, halt the violence, halt the agitation, because government is doing a lot. I understand that some questions right now from my colleague in Lagos.
Really curious, just to take you away from the Niger Delta affairs and developments there to the Mena Gate, because there seems to be a concern raised by some legal luminaries who have said that it doesn't really add up when you have a fugitive returned back to the country and then you're paying him emoluments of about 22 million naira, and when people are really going hungry, and that's your party. How do people accept this level of what they call impunity?
If I get it clearly, Jimba, I think that there's a huge problem with the moral plexus of this government. There's a huge problem with how those who run governance attend the Nigerian enterprise. Because when you have lawmakers who are paid humongously, when you spend about 120 to 150 billion to run a National Assembly that has less than 500 persons, then there is a major moral question. And that is why repeatedly we have said that those who pretend this space must come true to the people as people who care about the Nigerian enterprise. And that's why we have the movement called Country First Movement. We're saying to leadership, you must be true to what you say on paper. You cannot on the one hand say to the Nigerian people that you care about them when governmental operators are paid humongously and those who do the work are paid, are given minimum wage that would scarcely take them home, minimum wage that would scarcely do anything for them and their children. And I do sincerely believe that that's where I align with your question. That's where I align with your sentiment. But I believe that the time has come for the Nigerian people to engage leadership. And that's why I'm sitting here. I believe that beyond partisanship, performance should be the scorecard. I believe that beyond propaganda, concern for the ordinary people should be the summum bonum.
In the Mena Gate. And you have people who have literally brought this fugitive, according to the government, back into the country. What must be done concerning these people who have brought him in? Because up to this time, this government has been very silent on that axis.
Jimba, I've said that there is no excuse for the slow grinding of governance and government in certain protocols and sector. In the fight against corruption, it's taken the president too long too long to take proactive decisions and proactive action. We know what happened about the Babache Lawal and the National Security Intelligence Agency, the Okeman. We know how it took government well over 7 months to take proactive steps. And I believe that the time has come for government to be precise and in terms of dealing with corruption, to be effective, efficient, and effectual. The issue about the man who came in through the back door and got reinstated into federal civil service and the hoopla, if you like, that has attended that is a sore thumb, not only for our country, not only for the anti-corruption programmatic of government, but for everyone who truly thinks Nigeria. And I do believe that the hula baloo that has attended it and the hoopla from the Nigerian people, the criticism and the angst of the Nigerian media and indeed the civil society is valid. I think that the government and indeed Mr. President should be more efficient in dealing with issues about corruption, should be more precise in taking proactive steps, in telling those who are around him that he will not accommodate corruptive and corruptible proclivities. And except that is done, the Nigerian people will continue to question the commitment of government in fighting corruption.
Well, Chris, we have to thank you most kindly for coming on Sunrise Daily.
The pleasure is mine.